The man who fooled the world hook. No one discovered the lie until it was too late. For years, powerful institutions believed in one man. Governments trusted him, scientists listened to him, corporations welcomed him, the media repeated his words without question. He walked into rooms filled with experts and no one doubted why he was there. He was invited to conferences, quoted in official documents, trusted with authority, money, and responsibility. No alarms went off, no red flags were raised, because on the surface everything looked right. But beneath the surface, nothing was real. No one discovered the lie until it was too late. His name was Frank Abagnale. This wasn't a genius mastermind in his 40s. This wasn't a seasoned criminal with decades of experience. This was a teenager. In the 1960s, while most young people were still figuring out who they wanted to be, Frank Abagnale decided to become someone else entirely, and then someone else, and then someone else again. He didn't just pretend once. He didn't make one mistake and disappear. He built entire identities. Before turning 21 years old, Frank successfully convinced the world that he was a commercial airline pilot, a licensed medical doctor, and even a practicing lawyer. Each role came with authority. Each role came with trust. Each role came with consequences. And somehow, no one stopped him. His most famous disguise was as a Pan Am airline pilot. He wore the uniform with precision. He memorized the language. He learned how pilots walked, talked, and carried themselves. Frank moved through airports like he belonged there. Security waved him through. Staff nodded with respect. He slept in luxury hotels for free. He traveled the world without paying for flights. Not because he flew planes. He never flew a plane, not once. He never touched the cockpit controls. He never took responsibility for passengers' lives. He simply looked like someone who could, and that was enough. Airlines assumed he was legitimate. Hotels assumed he was important. Officials assumed someone else had already verified him, and because everyone assumed verification had already happened, no one actually verified anything. This is how the lie survived. Frank didn't break into systems. He didn't crack passwords. He didn't manipulate technology. Frank understood something far more powerful. He understood people. He understood authority. He understood appearance. He understood how much humans rely on shortcuts, uniforms, titles, confidence. He understood the fear of asking questions, the fear of sounding stupid, the fear of challenging authority, the fear of being the only one who doesn't understand. So people stayed quiet, and silence became permission. Each successful lie made the next one easier. Each role gave him more confidence. Each unchecked assumption made the system weaker. But the most disturbing chapter of all came when Frank pretended to be a doctor. Inside a real hospital, Frank worked among trained professionals. He wore a white coat. He used medical language. He signed documents. He made decisions that affected real patients. Lives were placed in danger, not because Frank was intentionally cruel, not because he wanted to harm people, but because the system trusted appearance over proof. The white coat replaced credentials. The title replaced verification. The confidence replaced competence. No one wanted to challenge him. No one wanted to admit doubt. And so the lie continued until it became too large to contain. Patterns began to emerge. Mistakes started appearing. Authorities noticed inconsistencies. The trail grew longer. The story grew heavier. Eventually, it caught up with him. Frank Abagnale was arrested. And only then did the world fully understand what had happened. They hadn't been fooled by intelligence. They hadn't been fooled by complexity. They had been fooled by confidence, by appearance, by authority, by their own assumptions. But the story doesn't end there. Here's the twist. After serving prison time, Frank didn't disappear into history. He was approached by the FBI. The same man who once exploited trust now understood fraud better than almost anyone alive. He was hired to help authorities catch people like his former self. The con artist became the consultant. The liar became the educator. The man who fooled the world now helps protect it. And that leaves us with an uncomfortable question. If a teenager could fool airlines, hospitals, banks, and governments, how often do we trust authority without asking questions? How often do we believe someone because they look the part? Because sometimes the most dangerous lies aren't forced on us. They are the ones we want to believe.